If I told you that you were only making about 5% of your choices during the day, you'd probably say that I was crazy, right? But according to Bruce Lipton, one of my favorite people of all time, he says that we are about 95% programmed and about 5% choices that we actually make on a daily basis ourselves. It's his belief that we have pre-installed programs that are installed between the ages of 1 and 7. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to install new programs so that you can live your own life. So again, Bruce Lipton, who is a biologist, I believe, evolutionary biologist, or he studies epigenetics as well, says that we only live about 5% of our life, something like that. The rest are kind of like unconscious programs. He says that between the ages of 1 and 7, our brain is in a theta state, which is like a hypnosis type state. Maybe we are just kind of living our lives. We're just sponges. We're just absorbing information between the ages of 1 and 7. And all the programs, basically all the choices we make and all the things we do on a daily basis are installed between those ages. And I've seen proof of this in many ways. One way is, I watched a video with Bruce Lipton. He said, why do the rich get richer? And it's because, when they're children, they just grow up in an environment of being wealthy. He kind of uses the example of maybe some wealthy children who they might not be particularly intelligent, but it's like once their parents die, they also maintain their wealth. They also continue to be wealthy. And why is that? It's because that is the program that was installed. Another example that I was thinking about the other day when I was doing research for this video is a good friend of mine and actually two friends of mine, neither of which are particularly attractive as far as the dating world is concerned. But I have one friend who who will remain nameless in this video, but he does very well in the dating world. He gets pretty much anyone that he wants. And for the whole time that I've known him since high school, he has never been single. And the point of this video is to not talk about relationships, but the fact of the matter is that he is not a conventionally attractive as far as looks are concerned. And again, I'm not saying that that matters or anything like that, but I have another friend who's also very similar in the field of looks. One night, I was working at a cafe that I used to work at, and both of them were talking to this girl. And the one who got the girl, basically, was the one who was actually less attractive. And it's my friend who I'm talking about here, who just always has a girlfriend, like all the time. And I was thinking, it popped into my head while I was doing research for this video, the story of him. And he's one of my craziest, funniest friends. We used to call him Good Luck Lewis. I'm gonna share his name here. We used to call him Dumb Luck Lewis because he has what we would call dumb luck. And the craziest things happened to him. I remember one time I was fishing with him actually in a river, and he lost his cell phone in this river. This was when I was first getting to know him, and he told me that his dad knew the state police dive team, and he told me this whole story about how the dive team was going to come get his cell phone and all this other stuff. And I thought he was completely joking. I thought he was just telling a story. Literally, he calls me a day later and was telling me that the state police dive team was diving for his cell phone, practicing in this river, and it was a true story. But my friend Lewis, he just had this thing with dumb luck, where he just used to have this dumb luck. And same thing in relationships as well. He always had a relationship, even though he might not be considered conventionally attractive. And what I realized about Lewis is that he had siblings that were much older than him when he was a child. So between the ages of 1 and 7, he had siblings that were like teenagers at that time. And one thing that they did when he was younger, when he was between those ages of 1 and 7, is that they would get him to flirt with girls at a very young age. And they got him to be comfortable around women at a very young age. And again, I'm telling you this not to make a point about relationships or anything like that, but to make the point that a program was installed in him. His beliefs, he had no beliefs about his looks. He had no beliefs about anything about him other than the fact that when he was younger, he would flirt with girls and they would kind of flirt back because, his older siblings were there kind of egging it on. But he never learned that it wasn't real. He didn't realize it was a game. And so that program stayed installed in his brain. And to this day, I don't think I've ever seen him single for the longest time. So what the hell's the point of this video? The point is that our beliefs really do control our reality. And again, Bruce Lipton says about 95% of our choices are just pre-programmed. Going throughout the day, the choices we make are automatic. We do this because our brains can't handle, making a ton of decisions throughout the day. It's kind of one of those things where it's just easier and it's more cost effective to just have programs installed. But there are certain things that maybe we want to change. Maybe there are certain limiting beliefs that we want to change in our lives, like maybe we want more money. The other example, and will be the last example for this video, is that there have been studies on people who make a certain amount of money. Maybe they make $50,000 a year and then they go on to make $100,000 a year. And those people many times will go back to their comfort zone. They will go back to making $50,000 a year. They won't stay at that $100,000 a year mark. And why is that? It's because of pre-installed programs that are stuck in our brain. So what we need to do is we need to obviously remove these programs, and we actually don't need to remove them. We just need to change the programs. So all we have to do is think about things that we don't want to do. There's two things actually that we can do to change these programs. One is to recognize the things that we do automatically, or to recognize the thoughts that we jump to automatically before we do something. Or maybe we have a certain thought about money, for example. Maybe we think that money is the root of all evil, and maybe that's a thought that we need to change. The simplest and only way to change these pre-programmed thoughts that we have is repetition, and this is what Bruce Lipton talks about. The only way to fix this is through, well, A, hypnosis, but B, number two option is repetition. So we have to constantly repeat new thoughts. We have to install new programs. And a great way to do this is to write affirmations. Again, whether you believe in affirmations or not doesn't really matter. It's more about the repetition. It's not about some sort of like magical, mystical, writing down affirmations is just going to magically change my life. It's the repetition. It's the changing of the program that changes your life. It's how you see things. Like I was talking about with my friend Lewis and my other friend who was also talking to this girl one night, and my friend Lewis ended up getting this girl. He had these limiting beliefs. He had other thoughts that made him come off as maybe more anxious or whatever. They both were about the same attractiveness. There was nothing more or less attractive about either one. But again, it just boils down to their beliefs. So we have to change our beliefs. And to me, that's proof that our beliefs kind of create our own reality right there. So repetition, that's what we have to do. I would encourage everybody who's watching this video to pick one thought at least that maybe you make automatically, or maybe there's a thought that automatically pops into your head whenever you think about something. Maybe it's your thoughts about relationships or money or business or whatever it is, or your health. And I would encourage you to just change that thought through repetition. This takes a while. Again, there's really no good answer, because really the answer to fixing this is to just keep working at it. It's going to be something that definitely takes time. But another one of my favorites, Brian Tracy, always says, if we're going to be making improvements in our lives, if we're going to be working towards something better, it doesn't matter if it takes a year or 5 years. It's going to be 5 years and 5 years anyway. So would you rather make it the next 5 years with the same programs that have been installed since you were a child, that are probably outdated, that probably don't even need to exist in your life anymore? Or do you want to make it the next 5 years kind of with new programs, with new thoughts, and living the life that you deserve?